Today's episode, everybody, is a little bit different, okay? It's going to be not so much about the video games, it's going to be about a character that we actually have seen in video games before. If you have played Simpsons Hit and Run, he was in this, okay? We're going to be talking today about Apu Nahasapina Petalon. Now, there's some rumors that they're looking to cut Apu from The Simpsons, okay? Very long-standing show. If you haven't heard of The Simpsons before, welcome back from your coma. Anyone that knows the Laymen show, the Lamon Gamon show, knows that like most of the memes are literally built around Simpsons, man. I mean, I've watched more Simpsons than, you know, any other show. Like, I watch more Simpsons than the time I spend with my girlfriend, okay?
You don't have a girlfriend, you're a fucking loser.
I really want to do an episode on this today and, you know, talk about why it would really suck if Apu was axed, to be honest. But before we do that, we really have to go back to the beginning. Back to when Simpsons was good. The Simpsons aired in 1989 as a Christmas special, and as it entered its third season, it really found its feet. From that moment, it became the show to watch, the show commenting on current events like no other show could, and was by far the edgiest cartoon ever to see the light of day for its time. The writing staff, episode after episode, created ingenious situations, allowing them to deliver a powerful, deep message almost every episode, while at the same time being extremely funny. What's important to remember was Simpsons back then did not give a shit what people thought. They were out there to make a statement, to be edgy, to talk about the current climate, be it a political climate, the social climate. It was just always there to actually talk about what was going on. The creators even had a feud with the Bushes, with Marge and Barbara Bush becoming pen pals. But at the core of it, it was there to make a statement, a funny statement, and it wasn't concerned about what people thought. But as the season went into their teens, it all went downhill. All Simpsons fans have a different idea as to when The Simpsons or why The Simpsons became worse. But that's for another video. Now, out of all the characters in the show, there has been one in particular that has become more and more controversial, and we all know who that name is. Groundskeeper Willie. There's been a growing outcry by some to remove Apu. Articles have surfaced over the years. A documentary called The Problem with Apu also created controversy. And of course, social media has played its part too, and it seems like the battle for Apu is now getting to the point where we're not sure if he's going to be around next week. Now, the rumors really started a couple of days ago when Adi Shankar, a producer on Castlevania, it's a show on Netflix, told IndieWire that he had been told Apu's days on the show were numbered. But it's important to remember that Adi Shankar is not a part of, you know, the team at Simpsons. He's not a creator, he's not a producer or anything. He's just like, hey, I heard this from somebody. So we were really waiting for somebody from Simpsons to come out and make a statement. Now, Al Jean, right, he's the executive producer for Simpsons, has now come to Twitter and said the following. Adi Shankar is not a producer on The Simpsons. I wish him the very best, but he does not speak for our show. That's all they've said for now, but this only really says two things to me, right? Number one, the door is not closed or open to the idea of, are we getting rid of Apu? It sounds like it's kind of ajar and they're like maybe pushing him out, but they don't want to come out and actually make that statement yet. It's a real shame too, because these are the moments where I think they really need to be like, yes, we're getting rid of him, or no, he's staying. For us to get such an ambiguous response like that, I think it's important for some transparency here. And the second thing was, I can't remember what the second thing was, to be honest, so that's the second point. But in the wake of this whole Apu saga, I thought it was a pretty good opportunity to talk about Apu and talk about the Simpsons comedic stereotype style. Apu Nahasapina Petalon has been one of the recurring and important roles in The Simpsons, making his first appearance in Season 1, Episode 8, called Telltale Head. Ever since that moment, The Simpsons has been non-stop racism. How dare they create a character that's hardworking, a good father, believes in the American dream, a great religious example, a good friend to Homer, a valued member of the community, a volunteer firefighter, a devoted husband, a vegetarian, and a generally optimistic, good-hearted soul that adds a huge amount to the Simpsons universe. But wait, the actor is a white man, and he's putting on an Indian accent. That must make the show racist, and it must make the person playing Apu extremely racist. Hank Azaria has played Apu from the beginning, and yes, he's not Indian. But that does not mean, in my opinion, that an actor that is not of the same religious background, same skin color, or similar life experience cannot play a character. The intent of the writing, in my opinion, is what's paramount. It's what the writers are trying to put on the page and what they're trying to convey. The Indian voice put on by Hank Azaria is the smallest part of this character. Anyone who has watched more than 10 minutes of Apu and how he fits into the Simpsons universe will clearly see that Apu is one of the best written characters ever to be supporting role in a cartoon. And let's make this clear, not because the audience gets to make fun of the Indian guy or some garbage like that. It's because he is actually one of the best examples of a good human being that is complexly created by the writers, yet simply presented. Sure, we can look at examples of him selling expired meat at the Quickie Mart, but that has absolutely nothing to do with Apu being Indian. That's there for comic relief to show his humanity, and to give that character some moments that bring him back to earth so we can relate to him on a comedic, personal level. If they didn't have moments of such humanity, in my opinion, he would be too good, too holy, too detached from the average man that his character would lose his ability to move the audience or leave a lasting, likable impact. Like Marge, in many moments throughout the show, we look to Apu for the moral compass, to see what should be done, what the right thing to do is in the given situation presented in the scene. Apart from Lisa and Marge and the Flanders, you would be hard-pressed to see anyone else on the show who displays such a strong moral center, except when a dirty sausage is rolling on the floor and it can be resold. But again, without those moments, he would be one-dimensional and boring. In a show full of caricatures, like the Mexican Bumblebee Man, an extremely one-dimensional character, to the representation of cops as bumbly donut-eating buffoons that literally has a pig for a nose, to shonky lawyers, incompetent doctors, corrupt and womanizing politicians, the Scottish, the Italians, the Christians, representation of substance abusers to the middle-aged white man. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I merely make this point to list all the stereotypes to say this. If my child was sitting in a room watching Simpsons with no other parents around to clarify what they were watching, Apu's character, on balance, out of all the other stereotypes listed, would instill the best example of how to conduct yourself through his constant strive to be the best he can be for his family, community, and his religion. And just on the topic of stereotypes, at the heart of comedy, especially when it is character-driven, it's stereotypes. To go into the topic of what makes an acceptable stereotype in comedy is a whole other video. But I will say this, stereotypical comedy can be a fantastic tool to bring people together, to disarm our differences and unify us by comically looking at what makes us all unique. Now look, I know there's a lot of sides to this and there's going to be a lot of opinion on this and I'm probably going to see a lot of comments on this. I hope everyone understands where I'm coming from. I generally feel like Apu is a fantastic part of The Simpsons, not because, as I said, we get to laugh at his accent, but because he's a great example of how one should live their life, how you want to treat your family, how you want to treat your friends, his ability to be optimistic. He's got so many wonderful qualities and wonderful lessons to learn that for us to sum him up in just a little soundbite of he is played by a white guy and he has an Indian accent, it's not encapsulating what Apu is. And in my opinion, if we do lose Apu, the show will just end up even worse than it is now. Because let's face it, The Simpsons that was the 90s, The Simpsons that was pushing bounds and being at the centerpiece of pop culture, now just seems too scared to say anything and just seems old. But we will miss you, Apu, if we do lose you. And I thought the best way to finish this was, of course, to show some of the best moments of Apu. And I wasn't going to do some silly montage, with some Logan Paul song under it, counting up to 30. That would just be so cheesy.